Hi guys, James here with a new arrangement for musicgurus.com. Today we're going to be looking at my arrangement of Fairytale in New York by the Pogues. And first of all, you need to click down below and go through and download the tab, okay? It's going to be a huge help having the music in front of you for this arrangement, okay? It's pretty involved. Once you've downloaded and printed off the tab, next we need to make sure we're tuned down to Dadgad, okay? So if I give you the tuning notes here, so we've got D on the top string, A, D, G, A, and D again on the top. Okay, so for the intro section of this piece, we're basically going to be emulating the piano part during the introduction. It pretty much follows it note for note, so hopefully you'll be able to pick up on what the piano was doing combined with the tab. But what I'll do now is just play through really, really slowly the intro part that we've taken from the piano and put on the guitar. Okay, so here it is. We're starting on the 7th fret of the top E string, and we're going to play that combined with the B string next to it as well. And then we're going to move up 2 frets, and we get this shape. So 10th fret on the B with 9th fret on the E string. And we're going to combine that with the open G string as well. Okay, so that movement there. And just before we continue, if we'll talk about right hand a little bit, on occasion I will be using some kind of hybrid technique, but there's not too much of that in this. You can get away with just using the pick or just your fingers throughout, so you can kind of adapt this arrangement to suit whatever your preferred right hand technique is. So I'm using the pick today, and occasionally I'll give you a shout when I do use the fingers on my right hand. Okay, so here we go again. We come down to this lovely chord here, so that's 5th fret on the top string, 7th fret on the B, and 6th fret on the G string there. Oops. Okay. Okay. Here we come across to this shape, okay? So it kind of looks like a G shape 2 frets higher. And we're coming across one of the most important aspects of the piece here in terms of left-hand technique, and that is muting, okay? There is so much left-hand muting in this piece. So what I'm actually doing here is muting the A string with my 2nd finger on the top there. So I'm strumming across all 6 strings, but we don't want to hear that A string in this chord, okay? I'm going to come down and bring the melody to the 4th fret on the top. Okay, another really common shape here in this piece. 2nd fret on the D string and 2nd fret on the top E string with your 2nd and 3rd fingers. We're going to move in that shape around a lot in the next section, okay? We're going to get a pull off to our open D string, and then we finish on a D chord there, okay? So again, real slow, just that intro section. Now we're going to start bringing in the vocal melody into the arrangement as well, okay? So things get a little bit more complex. This is one of the few areas where I'm going to do a little bit of hybrid picking with my right hand as well. I find it kind of helps here. So we're going to start with open A, open B and open G. And then we're going to get the 2nd fret on the A string at the same time as the top E string. We're going to raise that bass line up. And then with our little finger, we're going to get 4th fret on the B string, okay? Okay, so one of the trickier bars in the song for your right hand actually there. And we get this chord. Okay, so that's all following the vocal melody, pretty much note for note there. I've taken a bit of creative license and added a few extra little, bass rises and things just to make it more suitable to the guitar, so you can feel free to do these if you wish. But here is the verse real slow, okay, so. So if we talk through a few of the parts in there, we've talked about the opening bar. We get this nice little rise up to the F sharp on the D string here. And we're going to play that combined with the open D. Okay, another extremely common shape in this song. Again, lots of left-hand muting going on here. So I'm muting the A string with my second finger, and I'm muting the E string with my first finger there to make sure that the top melody note is on the B string here. Okay, then we get the opening bar again of the verse. Slightly different second time bar on the repeat there. We're going to go back. What I've done is just shorten this arrangement down for the purpose of this lesson in terms of the structure of the song. Okay, so where the normal track would carry on and do another verse there, you can carry on and do the same melodies. We're going to go into the piano section that takes us into the kind of the fast, jiggy kind of 6/8 section. So slight variation in this part here. Top chord there, we're going to go to 14th fret with our little finger. The rest of it is pretty much the same. Okay, and we can kind of have a little pause on that, that last chord before we move into the kind of time change, the upbeat feel for the next section. Okay, so this is where the left-hand muting that I talked about really does come into action a lot. Okay, so the most predominant chord in this, or shape rather, in this whole section is this shape here. It's going to be used throughout the entire verse. Okay, and there's a lot more going on here than it kind of might initially look, both, you know, to the eye and on the tab as well. On the tab, what I've done is fretted the movements of the melody, but to avoid the tab looking too crazy, basically, I've avoided any kind of muted strings in some areas, so we're going to talk about that now. So with this shape here in my left hand, what you've got to make sure you're doing is muting the A string with your second finger and muting the G string as well with your second finger. So your second finger is doing a hell of a lot of work here. It's fretting the 7th fret and it's muting the strings either side of it, okay? And so that when we strum, we're actually only hearing 4 of 6 strings there. Okay, and you're going to need to control the second finger to kind of go slightly more on its fingertips for certain parts where we want the A string to be the bass note, and your thumb will have to come over and mute the top string. So there we want the A in the bass, and then we've got the D in the bass. So that's kind of a really important movement in this whole track. Right, onwards then. Here is the verse played real slow, okay, and you'll see how much the shape is really used. So. Okay, so there, I've changed the bass note there by using my thumb, has muted the bottom string, and we've now got the A note in the bass. Again, still using the same shape, and that's all been controlled really by the second finger moving it ever so slightly on its fingertips. So from the top of the verse again. Another really common shape here. We've got second finger on the 5th fret of the E string and 4th fret of the G string with our first finger. Again, lots of muting going on here with our second finger killing that A string off. We don't want to hear that. Okay. We're going to get a pull off there. So open G. And then again to follow the vocal melody there. Quite simple shape at the end. Okay, so from the top of the verse, here we go. Okay, so you can see how much throughout that whole section, there's really only 3 shapes, and this one is doing 90% of the work there. So you've got this shape moving throughout. You've got the kind of G shape here, and you've got the one that we build towards the end of the phrase. Okay, and that's really the only shapes that your left hand kind of needs to create there. But it's all to do with that kind of hidden muting that we're doing with our second and third fingers throughout, really. The other thing that's not immediately obvious from the tab is the rhythm. And again, this is something that I kind of, every time I perform the track, will kind of change up quite a bit. But it's really important to have that kind of 6/8 feel throughout the melodies. And again, to make the tab sort of easier to read on the eye, I've just sort of notated where the melody changes are rather than the constant movement of the right hand. So it's just a 6/8 kind of feel, and we're adding in lots of kind of percussive, you know, kind of sixteenths in those bars, wherever you can put as much or as little in as you like, but you can kind of hear what I was doing there. So that, you want that kind of feel with your right hand. Next section we have personal favourite part of the arrangement. So we're back on our old familiar shape here that we did use in the verse as well. Again, lots of muting going on here to control, making sure that the bass note rings nice and solid, and also making sure that our melody line is picked out on top and not any high and open strings. So we've got, okay, so there, I'm strumming across just the top 4 strings there, the E, A, D and G. A string is muted, as you can hear there, okay? Little finger on 6th fret, changing the vocal melody up. And then I'm going across the B string with my 3rd finger on the 5th fret there, okay? We'll just make our way back down. Okay, and then this sequence here. Fairly straightforward from the tab, that one. You can see the fingerings there. And we're going back to our old faithful shape. Okay, so for this kind of outro section, some slightly new left-hand shapes coming into play here. First one is this shape. So we've got 4th fret on the D string and 5th fret on the B string, okay? Again, as you'd expect, and you've come to learn from the song, lots of muting still going on here with the left hand. We're going to mute the A string, we're going to mute the G string, and we're going to mute the E string. So actually, out of the 6 that we're strumming, we're only hearing 3, okay? The benefit of that, especially if you're using a pick, you get a really nice percussive sound across those muted strings as well. It's really cool. So on 2 of those, we're going to move down on the same strings to 2nd and 4th frets. But this time we're omitting the low E string and having the A in the bass. And then to our familiar shape that we've used already. Just during the outro there was something I just came up with to finish this particular arrangement. Little pull-offs on the E and B strings. Okay, so you can choose to include that or not include that. It's not actually part of the Pogues arrangement, but it just finishes this one off quite nicely. So I hope you enjoyed that, and please check out musicgurus.com for much more lessons in the future.